Thanks, Angela. It's a joy and a privilege for me to introduce to you today Amy Alford, who is our speaker for this morning's chapel. Amy is a longtime resident of Dallas, but spent 4 years living in Montecito. She lived near the campus, attended Brooks Institute. She's recently published a book, and Pam and I and our family had the privilege of hearing Amy speak in our church, Montecito Covenant, earlier this year. She's a wife, a daughter, a friend. She's a world-renowned photographer. She's taken the pictures of people like President Bush, Oprah Winfrey, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, Senator Kay Bailey Hutchinson, and Bill Cosby. Her book, When God Has a Way, No Other Way Works, really talks about our journey of faith with God. And each one of us is on a journey with God, and we're at different places in our journey with God, and many questions come to mind. One of the things that was so striking to me, as Amy shared in our church, was the fact that her life could have gone a very different direction. And when God got a hold of her life, turned this life into one of complete self-sacrifice. As you hear her story and as she shares this morning, you'll just begin to catch a glimpse of a heart that responded to God and has been open to the world. She's traveled throughout the world, going to orphanages, going to very heavily impoverished areas around the world to do her work. She's here today with her husband, Ben. Ben, thank you for coming. It's great to have you in California. And they share their home with their dog, Buddy. Now, I think anybody who's willing to put their dog, Buddy, in a bio is just a great friend. As you leave today, Amy will be out on the patio giving each of you a copy of her book. And I hope that you'll take time just to thank her for coming, for giving of her own time to join us here on campus. One of the most incredible parts of her life journey, and I don't know how much she'll share about it, is this past year she actually donated her kidney to her stepfather, who was really facing near death. And part of her journey has been this incredible expression of when God asks you to do something, to respond with an obedient heart. Amy, thank you for coming. We're so grateful to have you here.
Thank y'all so much. I'm so excited to be here at Westmont. Am I supposed to take this away? Okay. Well, about 20 years ago, I decided to go to photography school at Brooks. I'd heard about it through my other college, and my mom and my stepdad and I came out to look at Brooks. And while I was checking out Brooks, they were checking out Montecito. And they found a house up the street here, and they fell in love and bought the house the weekend we came to look at Brooks. And lucky for me, the house had a guest house, so I had a place to live the whole time I lived here. And at any given time, I had anywhere from 2 to 4 roommates. And we had a great time in Montecito. And if you asked me the best times of my life, I'd say it was when I lived here in Santa Barbara. So I'm excited for you guys because you are fixing to start an era of your life that is going to be fantastic. And I wish you the best. And hearing the worship music and the song, I think, God, you guys are a step ahead of the rest of the college kids, really in the rest of the country. You're in a Christian school with Christian teachers and professors that actually care about you, and they want you to succeed, and you've got other Christian students here to help you support each other, not only in your walk with the Lord, but with your school studies. So take advantage of this time in Montecito and at Westmont College, because it's going to be a really fun time. Well, like I said, we had this house here, and I've always been adventuresome and kind of crazy, and when I say adventuresome, I don't mean I sit around and play cards. I love skydiving, NASCAR racing, scuba diving, bungee jumping, paragliding. Actually, I have a picture. That's just a typical day at my farm, crossing the creek on my four-wheeler. But when I lived here, I had this wild hare one day. I thought it would be really fun to have a miniature horse. And I looked in the paper, and I found one. And this lady brings him over in this little trailer, and he gets out of the trailer, and he's the cutest thing you've ever seen. I got another slide of him. Okay, is he cute or what? So the lady backs him out of the trailer, and I said, wow, he's so cute. What's his name? And she said, Tex. I was like, oh, I got to have him. I'm from Dallas, Texas. Got to have Tex. So I buy Tex from this lady, but the only problem was I couldn't tell my parents that I had a horse. So they only came about 4 or 5 nights a month, and during those 4 or 5 months, I would hide him underneath the guest house. And I had rigged up some 2x4s, and I made a little pen underneath the deck that hung out over our house. And so that's where Tex lived 4 or 5 days out of the month. And everything was going pretty smooth till one day my mom came up to the guest house to see if we were taking care of it and everything. And while we were in there walking around, all of a sudden we hear this, "Ee!" And my mom said, "What was that?" And I said, "I don't know, I didn't hear anything." So that was kind of the beginning. I was like, okay, this is getting a little harder. And the last straw my parents came a day early. I thought they were coming on a Friday, and they came on a Thursday. And I got the phone call. They were headed up the driveway. And I was like, oh, my gosh, where's Tex? So me and my roommates headed out in the yard. We were calling, Tex, Tex. He was laying down in my mom's flower bed. And my mom loves flowers, and I knew that would be the first place she went. So I grabbed Tex, I run him back to the house, hide him underneath the house, and my roommates are trying to pull up all the flowers. They're in the shape of a miniature horse. They're all flattened down. I'm like, I'm going to be so busted. So that was kind of the icing on the cake. I was like, I got to tell my parents. I mean, I just can't go on like this. There's too many close calls. So I had him for many months, actually, before I gave in. So I called my mom, and I said, hey, Mom, can you and Harold, my stepdad, can y'all come up to the house? I need to tell you something. And she said, okay. So I let him out of the pen, and when they walked up to the house, he was running full speed with that mane and that tail behind him, and he looked so cute, and I thought, how can they resist that? And my mom walks up, and she says, oh, my gosh, what have you done? And I said, Mom, he's a great addition. He just eats hay. Him and Poodle get along. I've got a slide of him and my dog. They loved each other. They hung out together. And when I'd come home from class, they'd run up the driveway next to my car. I mean, he was awesome. And my stepdad, stuck his hands in his pockets, and he was kicking the dirt, and he was kind of doing this. And I thought, ooh, not good news. So my mom said, well, I'm very disappointed that you've bought a horse and did not tell us. She said, how long has it been here? And I said, oh, not long. So she said, we're going to have to talk about this, and I'll let you know if you can keep Tex. And I was like, okay. Well, 2 days later, the jury came back, and Tex was voted off the island. So he now lives with another family that has young kids that can have fun and take care of him. So that was my story with Tex. About 17 years ago, my life changed forever, for the good and for the bad. I was about 28 years old, and my dad died of cancer, and I was holding him when he died. And that was the most devastating, horrific thing in my life. I love my daddy. He was kind of responsible for bringing me up in a Christian home and getting me to my Christian camps in the summer. And great man, loved him to death. So when he passed away, it really just left me with a hole in my heart. But him passing away was the beginning of my spiritual journey with the Lord. And it was that calamity in my life that got me on the path, on the right path. Now, I became a Christian when I was about 9 years old, and I rededicated my life when I was 16 at Kanakuk Camp. And then when my dad died, I was about 28. And I thought, golly, you know what? What if I die when I'm 57? I don't have much time left. So that first calamity, and then over the years, the Lord allowed a lot more calamities in my life, a lot more deaths, a lot more tragedies, a lot more trials and tribulations to happen in my life. And I tell you, every time I had a trial, it brought me closer to the Lord.